Meeting to order. The first order of business is the minutes of the Utilities Commission meeting of March 21st, 2016.
I would move that the minutes be approved as submitted on the Utilities Commission meeting on March the 21st.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Let the record show we unanimously approve the minutes. Next order of business is operating funds on hand. Total cash on hand for the Utilities Commission is $788,251.37. In our capital funds for water and sewer hookup, we have $496,200 for a total of $1,284,451.37. Our next order of business for the Utilities Commission meeting is payment of the bills.
Move to pay the bills.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Let the record show we unanimously approve to pay the bills. That brings us to Mr. Sipes' report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On Radcliffe Pump Station, we are waiting for parts to come in. I've ordered all the valves. We're going to do it with the assistance of a contractor. The price is, right now, looks like it's down to about $45,000 instead of the $100,000 that I was estimating at the last meeting. And if we can knock anything else off of that, we will. The setup of the bypass pumps and the cleaning out of the wet well, all of those prices are coming back close to each other. $7,000, $8,000 for each. And there's not much we can do about that since we don't own a vacuum truck or the pumps that would be needed. We're gonna have to rent those. Everything else we have a little bit of control over. We can get shop for the valves and do some of the work ourselves to save on some of the labor. Most of you have probably seen the latest on the hospital. MDE is requiring a site assessment and some additional monitoring wells to be drilled in specified locations. While I do not agree with the locations, the fact that new monitoring wells are being put in is a positive. The location, the reason I don't like them is most of them are directly adjacent to existing monitoring wells. Instead of going to someplace on the site that has not been monitored or checked for the presence of oil, they're doing it in areas that are already in the middle of the action. The valve over here at Spring and High Street that's been leaking for quite a while now, we attempted to fix again, and we could not get the water shut off to cut the valve out. The valve up in front on Spring Street by Calvert that is leaking now should have approximately 12 full turns to close it. We could not get more than 3 turns. So the valve is frozen.
Corroded, rusted. Or
Yeah. What happened, most of these valves are 80 years old or so, and they are steel on steel. And the stem, the valve body, any corrosion in those will keep it from operating. So right now, what we're gonna do is plan on doing it next Monday. We're gonna do a cut-in valve so that we can shut the water off. And tomorrow, we're gonna dig up the valve that's leaking to repair it. Usually when the valve leaks, it's because of a bonnet. The bolts that hold the bonnet, something has started to come loose. And you can usually take those out one by one and replace them and stop the leak.
Did you say 8 or 80 years?
80.
80.
80.
Okay.
All of that over there is old cast iron pipe with lead joints. So the only way to get a valve out is to cut the pipe out and remove the entire assembly and do a replacement. At the water plant, a VFD has gone bad again for the main pump. We were able to get one in the same day. Probably most people did not notice, but there was a period of time that the water pressure was down about 10 pounds. But luckily, they had one in stock down at Hills Electric. It was a little bit bigger, but I got it for a good price. Less than the price of a direct replacement. So hopefully, the fact that it has a larger rating on it, instead of being rated 100 horsepower for the pump, it's a 150 horsepower VFD, so it won't realize a 100% load. Variable frequency drive.
Thank you.
So it won't see a 100% load and hopefully will last us a lot longer. The last one lasted us 7 years. That's not unusual. We're seeing the same thing at Radcliffe. The lifespan on a VFD, variable frequency drive, is typically about 7 to 8 years. But that is replaced, everything is up and running. I also had them put an additional cooling fan in the cabinet to help with the heat. Usually when they go bad, it's because something happened to overheat one little resistor inside of this huge VFD. And when one resistor goes bad, the whole thing is shot. And that is all I have.
All right, are there any questions?
Try very hard not to mention the dog park, because I get talked to by my members in the council. But we've talked about turning the water on, and every time we got ready, we had another freeze. But I think we're probably past it now. The reason I bring it up is, I'm there twice a day, and I never go there. That somebody's wanting to know when the water's going to be turned on. So
I will get it turned on tomorrow morning. I intended to do it today. Obviously, there's not going to be any more freezing weather, but
I understand it. I would like to be able to tell them, see, if you got it done. So
okay, I'll have it on first thing tomorrow morning.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. So we're going to close the Utilities Commission meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good report.
Okay, we're going to convene the regular mayor and council meeting. It's 7:40 PM. Our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the mayor and council meeting of April 4th, 2016.
I would move that we approve the minutes for April 4th.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Good, Jen.
Any opposed? Let the record show we unanimously approve the minutes. Moving right along, operating funds on hand. Our total operating cash on hand for unrestricted use is $1,499,292.37. In our assigned fund from the Washington College transfer of the Armory, we have $180,480 for total funds on hand of $1,679,772.37. Our next order of business in the mayor and council meeting is the payment of the bills.
Move to pay the bills.
All right. All those in favor? Any opposed? We unanimously have paid the bills, which brings us to Chief Baker's police report.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to present the monthly statistics for March 2016. And our administrative hours were 15, which was 1% of the time. Our criminal investigations were 34, 2% of our time.
Need some water.
I'm fading. Excuse me. Our accident investigations were 7, 1%. Vehicle patrol were 812 hours at 57%. Foot patrol was 128 hours at 9%. Training 72 hours at 5%. Court was 18 hours at 1%, and overtime was 105 hours, which was 7%. We had 18 adult arrests and 65 separate charges. 25 were CDS, 14 traffic-related, and 10 prescription fraud. The 25 CDS and the 10 prescription fraud were a result of an investigation that started with a prescription fraud case and led to another person. And in addition to that, we had a state task force operation last month which yielded some of those CDS arrests. And as I explained to Councilwoman Gross, they're really important because the beauty on the back end is that all our other peripheral crimes are greatly diminished when we make these type cases and get those people taken care of. We had 4 assaults, 3 each for DWI related, and FTAs, 2 thefts and 1 each, which were disorderly conduct. failed to obey an officer, FOA, and a fugitive from justice. In the juvenile charges, we had 1 juvenile arrest, and that 1 charge was CDS. We had 4 Part 1 offenses, cleared 2 by arrest and 2 by exception. We had 19 Part 2 offenses, cleared 15 by arrest and 4 by exception. Our motor vehicle citations issued for the month of March were 55. We had 234 warnings, and unfortunately, our red speed has crept right back up at 419 violations for the month. So perhaps with this summer traffic and that sort of thing, we'll see it back up again. Breaking our overtime down by percentage, our extended investigations were 27% of our overtime was the task force. I mentioned those operations were successful. 4 were special assignment, 11% was court. We had 10% on shift coverage and 34% on training. Ward 1 had 7% of our, had 7% calls for service, had 7 calls for service, which was 2%. 71 in Ward 2, which was 23%, 104 in Ward 3, which was 35%, 97 in Ward 4, which was 32%, and we got 5 outside the jurisdiction. We had Wednesday as our busiest day for calls for service. Our busiest time of day was 8 in the morning to 9 o'clock. And that concludes my report. Unless you have any questions.
I'm curious, the drug involved with the juvenile, was that opiate or marijuana?
As I recall, it was marijuana.
And you come very close to hitting my threshold of 10% for cocaine.
Yes, sir. That's what
It'd
we
be nice
stopped.
if you get them out. You know, that's only less than an hour a day for each man, so.
Yes, sir.
And Ward 3 was calls that were more than Ward 2? That's
That's
the
what we said.
first.
Yeah, I can check to see if there was some particular reason for that if you'd like me to.
It's okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Apparently, our Coast Guard representatives would like to come at our next meeting, so that is no longer an item on the agenda.
What do you came to?
Item number 5, U.S. Coast Guard representatives.
Oh, safe boat guy.
Safe Boating Week. I know you're eagerly awaiting that, Marty.
I know, right?
Sorry. So that brings us to our town manager's report. Bill Ingersoll.
Okay. This afternoon, you got an email from Case Demore that I forwarded. The question had come up before when we had bid opening for the architectural services related to the Chestertown Marina Interpretive Center, why they were all exactly the same. That was intentional. The rest of it involved background qualifications, current workload, how the project would be organized, the consensus building, ability to work with the town, the cost controls and change orders, how they're done, copies of the general and professional insurance, the fee structure, cost per hour of persons working on the project, exclusions, the things that weren't in the bid, and the concept sketch. And I think your email from Case basically says that out of the 3 top-ranking bids, that Shamu, Mikowski, and Patterson were, in his estimation, the highest rated of the 3. Now, we have some experience with Walter Shamu. He's designed buildings locally at the college and for the town. So, whether you want to go on beyond that or take his recommendation in the wording of the bid is your discretion.
I'm ready to move that
Yeah.
we give it to Shanu. I'm a great believer in past results, and they've done good work. They know what we need and know what we like, and apparently they thought enough about it to send somebody over here and walk the site and so
Right.
forth. So
Agreed.
they're not, they should have a very good idea of what we want and what they can work with to make it that way, so.
Their sketch was very good. I took a look at it myself, and I came to the same conclusion, but he's the one who wrote the specs, and the second bidders are Zeiger Schneed. They're well-known and they've done one project with us in the past, but it was more of a planning project than an architectural design. So,
Plus the fact that everybody was the same amount of money, so we're not giving it to the
Right.
It's not a low, we're not skipping over a low bid and give it to them.
I think we should take Casey's recommendation.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
Did you make the motion?
I will, I mean, I move that we award the design of the Marina Interpretive Center to Shamu, Patterson, and SM&P.
Shamu, Mikowski.
Mikowski and Patterson of Baltimore.
Okay, is there a second?
They changed their name.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, the bid has been awarded.
The introduction of the annexation ordinance, which you see, that you received, is done and ready, with the exception of some mappings and some materials that come from the requester themselves. Everything's fine. They would like to appear at the next meeting. One of the things they do on the outline for the extension of services is show the water and sewer lines in the area, the infrastructure that's near their property, and they're getting that done by their engineer. They also want to meet with the planning commission and go over the concept for that area, which, would relate to the zoning that it would come into the town with. So I think that's probably a better way to do it. I'm glad that I sort of got the paperwork behind us and you all saw that document. It involves a public hearing and 4 advertisements. So I also suggested to you that we annex the Gateway Park and the Lagoon in Chestertown Annexation Number 2, which I would get ready for you and have simultaneous, wouldn't mix them together because if there's issues on one, we don't want it to affect.
Could we have the hearings jointly?
Yeah, I think that's,
That
what.
makes sense to, and it's cost saving.
And that would be to the 2nd Ward with the Lagoon and the 3rd Ward for the Gateway Park. 4th Ward for this annexation above won't have a lot of population for a while, so that's really not going to throw off. And Lagoon's not going to have a lot of population.
Maybe ducks.
So I'll be back with that, but is that okay with everybody?
So there'll be more paperwork that we'll see before next meeting.
Yeah, it'll be similar to the other. The outline for extension of services to the southern annexation won't really have much to it because the services are not needed there. So you're usually doing that with somebody who has an ultimate goal for the property and who's going to put in the water lines, who's going to put in the sewer lines. But our process has always been that someone annexing extends toward themselves, and if we have a glaring need, like need a water tower or something like that, we fulfill it with that. You might remember that from the 2008 Passon Brothers thing. I do have one thing tonight that is active. At our last meeting, we introduced ordinance number 1, 2016, which adds food trucks to the peddling and soliciting ordinance, goes through how we license somebody to do that and where they can go. I've had comment from one council person and really very little else. The suggestion that I think Liz and I discussed, should there be hours of operation, and I didn't think so myself, but if you can make any changes tonight to this and enact it that you feel that public comment, and there's still a public comment period for 2 weeks after this, or 21 days?
21 days.
And the other thing was the
Liability?
fees will be not in the ordinance, they'll be in a resolution, so you wouldn't be putting whatever the fee you determine, so you can postpone that.
So that was one question I had when I reread the whole thing today, was, if we pass this ordinance tonight, and somebody turns up at the counter outside tomorrow wanting to get their license to operate a food truck in accordance with this new ordinance, what are they going to
They
pay?
have to wait 21 days,
Okay,
and that'll
so
give you enough time to mull
the
this
next
over.
meeting, we'll look at the fee
The only other
structure.
thing that I suggested was, because they're going on private property, if some private property owner blithely just lets anyone come in that's not licensed, I think that you should consider that being a municipal infraction also, because I can see a possibility where that person just doesn't care, and doesn't care that they're 200 feet or 50 feet
forgot
from the
about
restaurant,
that.
said, this is my land. So I think the property owner bears a little bit of responsibility for that, but it's just a thought of mine. I think we've got most of the major stuff here, so we could get going with that.
If somebody wanted to comment in the next 21 days, how should they go about commenting?
They would just write or email or whatever. And this is not, this is not the public streets one where we're coming back with that. So if someone says, oh my gosh, that's not in there, it isn't in there. It's not going to be in there. We would do that pilot project by resolution, not by ordinance. Too complex.
On the hours, it actually says it's something we did not amend, that the time of solicitation peddling, this is section on the third page, section 130-3, B. The times of solicitation, peddling, hawking, vending, and canvassing shall be between the hours of 9 a.m. and 7 p.m.
But
So we do actually have hours in there. You and I, when we discussed it, I raised the issue of do we need to limit the hours? And then my feeling was that if they're operating on private property, then the noise ordinance prevails anyway. And
yeah, and if we had meant to add food trucks, we would have added that on that one you just read.
the vending would apply to the food trucks, I don't think.
Well, we didn't have it as synonymous before that. We added food trucks, even though vending was used.
Yeah.
Like where it says license required on the first page.
But I would read this to say that food trucks can't operate after 7 p.m. Peddling, hawking, and vending, they're vending food.
I don't, because it says at the very first phrase, license required shall be unlawful for any peddler, hawker, vendor, canvasser, solicitor, or food trucks. You didn't put them in the same category as a vendor earlier.
Oh,
You didn't make it synonymous.
okay, so that's a little ambiguous there, whether or not that applies, yeah.
And I just don't think that that's going to be a problem, and if it does, I think you address it. I think we need to get this thing started and get to the
Yes.
real.
How do we get this started? Do we need
just say
a motion?
Yeah.
I move to adopt this ordinance.
Did you just move?
I just moved to adopt ordinance 01-2016.
Can I add a procedure question?
Yeah.
Yes.
If there's only 4 council people here, and 2 are for and 2 are against, does it fail? I'm not talking about this specifically, but it just occurred to me, next time we bring up the resolution, that could occur.
You need 3. You need 3 to pass this. If it was 2 to 2, we'd have to wait till the next meeting.
It's failed, right? Just like the government.
It's failed, but it's not dead.
It's deferred.
So are you going to be that person?
Pardon?
Or,
No,
I have no problem.
I think he's talking more about-
Property and,
Yeah. he's talking about the separate resolution.
yeah.
But there's a motion on the floor, so is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, so that's
Here's 3 of
adopted.
them,
Oh, you need us to sign them, right?
please. I have a budget schedule that I want to hand out. This is a preliminary. It's by no means set in stone. It's coming up pretty soon. The thing is,
This is brutal.
what I would like, it just looks more brutal than it is. It's really harder to make the budget than to pass it. The May 9th was a budget. See ya. May 5th. There's a workshop meeting with the public, and there's a preliminary one that the town fathers sit down. It's open to the public, but not for comment. And I think, didn't we put May 5th?
We did.
That is subject to your saying May 5th's okay. We just put it in there as a placeholder. Is that a Thursday?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've done it on Thursdays before, and you get pizza.
No.
Oh, boy.
No.
pizza?
Wow.
At the regular budget
Oh,
meeting,
the
we get
other.
pizza. You're pushing it.
Not until June.
That's pushing.
You order it out then on your
Yep.
own buck. So is that okay with everybody, May 5th?
At 5.
The
May
rest of
5th
them
is
are
fine, May 9th is not for me.
May 9th. It's not a regular.
That's not a regular meeting.
Okay. May 9th is not,
Can I miss
okay.
it?
Which one is so we're having a preliminary, and we really just, the one where the council sits down and works.
May 9th is the Monday.
Is May 9th, that's the big one. That's the big Oh, May 9th is it?
No, it's not. It's not a
No.
council meeting, otherwise I wouldn't have
Oh,
booked to
I'm
be
sorry.
away.
The earliest one that's dated as May 5th, we never really had that meeting until a couple years ago.
Okay.
The first one was we would always have one budget, and then we need a little
Yeah, we
earlier
generally do most of
one.
the work in one meeting, so if the 5th is more, then we'll stick with the 5th. The
Can we-
regular- Yeah,
Can we do one like before our regular meeting, when we've already got?
we do, yeah, that's often that one that comes on a Monday night, but May 9th's not a meeting night, is it?
No,
No.
that's why I'm booked to be away.
Okay, okay. Well, I'd say that let's stick with May 5th.
Okay.
And we'll make that a hard-working workshop that starts at 6.
And what are we doing about May 9th?
We're bagging it.
All right.
Sorry about that, guys.
That gives us time, though, to make corrections. It gives us 11 days.
So if we're introducing the budget on May 16th, are we gonna bang out the budget in one meeting?
Well, you actually don't bang it out, but yeah, you're going to consider it, and if you feel like you need to have it, how long are you gone for?
I'm gone all that week.
Yeah, okay. We can then we could have a meeting before the May 16th meeting.
Well, I feel like last year, we were given a preliminary budget
Yeah.
where we had a deficit of a couple $100,000, and we needed another meeting to
Yeah.
try to rectify that. So
Well,
it seems
I think
like,
it's possible for one person to be absent from a meeting, so if you stick with this schedule, it wouldn't matter what day of the next week. If you want to try for something earlier, I don't think we're going to be ready.
I could Skype in, I could Skype into that meeting.
Okay.
That would work.
We can try, let's just
See,
try
if I
to
leave
work
home at
within
6
this
o'clock in the
schedule.
morning, I can be there.
and keep the 9th?
Yep, keep the 9th, if all days of that week are the same. keep the
I'm
9th.
driving up to Canada that day.
You won't be back by Thursday.
Not
Friday,
yet.
I'm coming home on Friday.
Sounds like they're all staying the same.
Okay. Preliminary anyways, it has to be changed. If there are suggestions from the council about things you want in the budget, please let me know now. Not now, but I mean between now and then.
The 9th is tough for me, like, I would literally be getting off the river and driving into this building that day, which
All right, what's another
is
date?
tough. The 10th, any other day,
Okay, so,
What if we moved it back an hour?
that would help, that would definitely help.
It would help me
Just move
too.
it back an hour. and then-
Okay,
yeah, but
that's
is
better.
it going to be that same way? Was Tuesday easier though? Now it's arbitrary.
Tuesday, let's just keep it the 9th, and if we
6
give me
o'clock.
another hour, I can like take a shower, that would probably, you'd probably all benefit from.
Yes.
I would
What we
appreciate
usually
that.
do is we find out issues on the 5th, and then
Right.
gives us a few days to try to solve them
Right.
without raising taxes. which, you know.
So we're changing the 9th till 6 o'clock, right?
I would, if you guys are amenable, that's what I would like to, okay.
I'll just eat a half an hour early.
As long as you get that meal in, that's really what this.
That's the one that we get dinner, the May
Yeah.
9th. That's one,
Pizza,
it's the 5th, you have to
It could
suffer.
be anything.
Can you Skype me a piece of
That's all
pizza?
right. I eat
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock
Chinese
anyway.
carryout?
Yeah, it could be anything. And I have one last request. I need to have an executive session to discuss a legal matter with attorney present after this meeting.
Do you have that form?
There's one right here.
Yeah,
Out, so I know what I'm reading, or Liz knows what she's reading, or... Give it to Bill to fill out, he's the one that wants it.
To consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. Anything else?
that's it.
Okay, who wants to make the motion?
So we need a motion for executive session to discuss a legal matter with attorneys present.
All right, how about you? I would move that we have a
I'm sorry.
statutory authority to close session, general provision, Article 3-305B, small b, check all we apply, and then what we're doing is to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter. I move that we have a closed session for that.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Okay, unanimously agree to an executive session. Is that all, Bill? Yeah. All right, thanks. Okay, that brings us to the mayor's report. First order of business is we have a permit request from the Knights of Columbus for their annual Memorial Day Parade on May 30th. Basically, they want to host their parade on Monday, May 30th, 10 o'clock. It would begin at Dixon Drive, down High Street to Queen Street. There'd be a 10-minute service on the stage at the base of Stam Hall. If you've never been to this, it's a very nice, pretty low-key parade, but a very important parade. So, I don't know, do I need a motion for this, Jen?
Yeah, it's good.
Is there a motion to approve the permit?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, permit is granted. Also tonight, last meeting, we discussed appointing Barbara Jorgensen to the Historic District Commission. You guys have all seen her resume, I'm sure. Tonight is the night that we formally appoint Barbara to the HDC. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to appoint Barbara Jorgensen to the Historic District Commission.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Congratulations. All right. Thank you for serving. Just a couple other small announcements. We talked last meeting about, we kind of formally endorsed the concept of developing a small pocket park along the rail trail at the site of what's been called the Ajax basketball area. So kind of following along those lines, Bill and myself and Brant Troop had discussed using some leftover Recreation Commission funds to buy a swing set. And so we've agreed to have the company, which is Stoltzfus right across the street, I believe, they're going to actually install that on the 22nd of April. So we're going to get started on that in just a couple of days. And once the swing set's in there, we'll kind of reassess the lay of the land, figure out where the rest of the playground equipment is going to go, and kind of keep moving along. Kind of tangentially tied to this is Bill and I had a meeting today with the ladies from the Garden Club who are very interested. We talked about this last year, about switching out the benches that the students had painted many years ago with kind of some more formal, a little more traditional benches. I think the benches that are there now have served their purpose well. They will be repurposed. We're not sure where they're going to go, and the way this is probably going to get funded is that the Garden Club is going to solicit donations from their members to basically have individual members purchase individual benches so they can memorialize a loved one with a plaque for each bench, and they felt pretty confident that that would knock out most of the expense for the benches. So that will hopefully be happening this spring or summer, and we're going to kind of work with them and work with the people who painted the benches to determine where the benches will be relocated. One or two of them may end up at the new Pocket Park. We had preliminary discussions last year with folks at Washington Park who were interested in possibly putting some out there, so we'll see where that goes. I don't know, aren't we gonna have some picnic tables there?
Yeah, there's benches that came with the whole proposal that are all matched with the,
I think the more traditional benches probably are needed in the fountain court. I do hear that from time to time, that while the intention was very good, the appearance is not that great.
So that's all in motion, and that'll all be coming to fruition within the next few weeks.
Can I ask a question? You're not going to put the swings on top of asphalt, though? You're gonna-
No, I think they're gonna be set back.
It's not legal.
Did you guys pick a site?
yeah, we put them on all that railroad stone.
Did you?
No, not on asphalt.
Put them on crushed rock. And then if they
No, we
fall-
found a nice lawn area that's not far from the trail, so that you can take a break from the trail,
Have a swing.
have a swing, you know, smoke a cigarette, whatever you're gonna do.
Don't smoke and swing at the same time. And that's it for my report. So that brings us to ward reports. Why don't we start with Marty this time?
Well, I'm not sure this is a ward report, but I did attend the legislative wrap-up that was held in Heron Point this morning. It was hosted by the League of Women Voters and, of course, coordinated by the Chamber of Commerce. And we had Senator Hershey, Representative Jacobs from Kent, Ariz from Ariz from
Queen Anne.
Queen Anne's County, and Gerst from Caroline County. And they kind of summarized the session as a mixed bag, better than in years past, but still not exactly what we wanted. But I think we came out pretty well. While Hospital Bill SB 12 didn't pass, the companion bill that we went over there to testify on, both of those, did pass with the amendment that they cannot fast track the hospital, and it will be there for at least 4 more years, and hopefully many years after that. They formed a group to study rural care for hospitals, and this is not just a bunch of people with a name. They got $500,000 to do this study. So that's a serious study when you get $500,000 to do it. So I look forward to having them talk to me. I hope they do anyway. So, and we talked about they introduced a bill on that Bob had suggested and so forth. It didn't think it was going to pass, but I think it did get the EPA moving, and there is a letter that we all have copies of where they're going to do something along those lines. And I firmly believe that the fact that bill was introduced got the EPA moving. There was much discussion about how the large population counties are stealing money from everybody else. What it amounts to, I wouldn't say stealing it, but they're locking it up so that it's very difficult for small counties to get money out. They're trying to tie the hands on the governor, and it looks like that might happen. I don't know. I brought this up before at our meetings, and I don't know how the council feel, but tonight it went along very quickly, but I think it would be nice if we had the police department come in on one meeting and then the utilities meeting come the next meeting. And that would kind of spread that out, and I don't know that they could decide between themselves which one wants to go first and which one wants to come to the third meeting. But it would help on those nights that we do run very long.
I think that's a great idea.
And finally,
Council.
What's that?
I said I've been saying that since I got on council. Why do we have these two big reports the same night?
I brought this up before. I think it's time for us to consider a change of the Chestertown Marina, because we really don't have a marina. We have a boat docking park. And what really brought this petition to me this time, my feelings were that one bill was introduced by the governor routing millions into programs of open space and to go to our parks and so forth. I think we might have a better chance going to the state government saying, this is a park, and we want you to help us build this park. And again, it also takes a little bit of sting out of the fact that we have for-profit marinas who really feel like we're stealing business from them, and we're really not, because we don't do any boat storage per se. There won't be any boat storage once the park is finished, I would think, except for canoes and those kind of things. And I just think if you all can think about it, I thought about like the Chester River Waterfront Park and Dock, or something of that nature. Maybe dock doesn't sound right, but you're a Marine man, you might know something about it. Rather than a marina, I think it would be, the first part should be park, because that's what we're going to have. It's going to be open to the public, and the fact that you pay to put your boat in or pay to dock your boat, that's fine, because they do that all over the state parks. You pay to put your boat in a state park, right?
Yes.
I don't boat, but it seems to me that's... So I think we should really, truly consider that, and I think it would be nice if all the council people went home tonight and spent the whole night thinking about what we should change the name of it.
Chestertown Riverfront Park.
I don't want to spend the whole night. Can I spend like a half an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're the mayor, you can do it in 15 minutes.
All right.
But I really think both of those suggestions might help with our meetings, and it might help the getting our money. Maybe we can, instead of going for the capital budget, go for the parks.
The program open space money is interesting in that it flows usually through the county to the towns. So that would involve us, if that's an approach that we want to take, and I think there might be merit to that, it would need to be more of a collaborative effort with the commissioners, but I think they would be amenable, but we would need to,
Well,
Work
anything
with
we
them.
do to that waterfront benefits the county too.
no doubt about it.
They live on tourists, and if we can get more tourists coming in here and docking up, they get a direct benefit. So I can't imagine them saying, well, no, we're not going to help you.
Right.
What's a coincidence? Because today we received our Corps of Engineers permit for the marina, the park, or whatever.
That's the name.
Almost 2 years.
We
have to
got to
finish this.
stop using the word marina.
I forgot all about it till he mentioned, we got to sign it and send it back to make it, to get the yellow permit.
Yeah, that's a big deal. We've been waiting for 2 years for that permit, and it's really hard to get money when you're not shovel-ready. So with this permit, with our engineering renderings that we finally have now, once we get those architectural renderings for the center, we will be as shovel-ready as you can possibly be, and the only thing holding us back will be the fundraising. And that's when most funders want to join you, when you can take their money and put it right into the
What
project.
specifically is this permit for?
Everything.
Everything. So the rest of the dredging, the
From
bulkhead, the
pier extensions, the
extending,
bulkhead.
great.
The ground raising, everything. So that's really good news.
It's great news.
Well, I thought our delegation said this morning, Marty, did you hear them this morning? Didn't they say that open space money was 100% funding? This morning at the breakfast, at the legislative breakfast.
I only hear the things that I want to hear. Would I want to hear that? No, I'm just kidding you.
Yes, I think that's what Marty was saying.
Yeah, I thought they said there was 100% funding in open space.
You mean from their budget? They got their budget request? What do you mean?
Dan,
Yeah, the open space was 100% funded this year. In other words, they didn't
Right.
Cut.
steal from it.
Yeah, well, the Sun Paper reported 1.6, no, they just said millions of dollars, so it's
Right.
more than that, so.
All right, so we're moving along with that project. We really are. I know it doesn't look like it, but trust me, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you don't see and that you won't see until we're building stuff. So let's keep moving to Linda.
okay, Bill just approved this a few minutes ago. Any nonprofits coming to the farmer's market on Saturday morning can come to the town office and get a permit, and we'll give a one-time pass without the permit, and then each nonprofit is going to have to display this permit from the town to be in Fountain Park on Saturday mornings. And I found out one discrepancy was the map that was being handed out I need to change it a little bit. So we had an issue Saturday morning, and we got that taken care of. I just want to remind everybody that the Mutt Strut is going to be this coming weekend along with Earth Day, and then Monday will be, is it Monday will be Arbor Day?
It's Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
There's something happening.
So it's a big weekend, and so I think that's all I have.
All right, thanks. Liz?
Not much to report. I was unable to go to the legislative breakfast this morning. I would have liked to have. I had a prior commitment.
Too far from home?
No, right, you can spit there. I did attend the listening session at the high school on whatever night that was. and
Last Thursday.
When you see the picture of, a lot of people holding up that petition that stretched for half a mile, somewhere in there, I'm in there. I spoke in a personal capacity.
Who was the insane person that went up in that bucket to take that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, was it you?
Tom Aaron, he's photographer.
It was a little sketchy, but it was good.
I had heard that too.
As the police report always testifies, there's not much going on in the first ward.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
things
think
are
you were
good.
at 7%. of our-
Two.
Oh, 7 incidents.
7 incidents.
We had more. I apologize, I forgot this. This is the rack card that is going out for the Tea Party Festival, and it's still not too late to volunteer if you would, and I can make sure that you're there just from 6 to 9 a.m. if you just want to give 3 hours.
Let me know
Tough
when
hours.
it's too late, will you? That's what I want.
All right, we're moving on.
This is the 40th anniversary,
Is it really?
yeah.
Oh, that's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Okay, there were no requests from the public to be on the agenda. Are there any questions or comments tonight from the audience?
I have a question.
Yep.
Barbara Frush, she's on a delegate from PG County on the environmental subcommittee. She secured a letter in the session from MDE saying there'd be a consent order between the hospital and MDE by the end of this month. And have you heard of the progress of that consent order? Have you heard anything from it?
We've heard that they've been working on it, and that's about the extent of what we know.
And there's also another agreement in place between the town and the hospital. You probably can't say much on that now, it's still progress, but is it in progress?
It is in progress.
And the last question, a couple months ago, there was talk about payment in lieu of taxes from Washington College. Has that subject kind of been put on ice or come back at some point?
I mean, my take on that is I feel like we stated our position, and ultimately, the decision has to come from the college to us because it has to be a voluntary payment. And they basically came to us and said, we feel like we do enough and we can't afford to pay you anything. And for me to keep pushing that, I feel is like me banging my head against a wall that is going to do more political damage than it's worth at this stage. That's just my personal position.
I may try it next time I see the president, because I really do think it's an important thing, and I think that if you just got $1 a day out of every student up there, that's $18,000 or whatever, $180,000. It'd be worthwhile for us.
So did that answer your question, Dan? Yep.
Mr. Mayor, if I might, I just want to take a couple minutes of time. First off, just 2 quick questions that we missed back there. What's being annexed, Mr. Ingersoll, or proposed to be annexed?
It's a northeast annexation, you know it as a Walmart property, and some of the Passon property from beyond.
Yes, we know that property intimately.
Almost all the way to Hopewell Corner, not quite, not as big as the one from the 2008.
Mr. Stetson brought something up we were curious about. I thought the mayor was a tying vote on the council. If there's a 2-2 tie, the mayor votes tie, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, that's all just theoretical until there's not an issue, why deal with it?
Well, what he was saying is, what if we vote and we have a member that's not here? What do we do?
It's still 3-1, it wouldn't matter if the mayor was part of it or not.
We clarify.
Somebody's away too.
We clarify. Okay, so I'm here on 2 different capacities. First off, I wanted to give you a little professional perspective. One of the many tasks that the clerk's office does on behalf of the comptroller's office is issue business and trader's license. And each month I bring a report over and give it to the wonderful deputies here at the counter, and they turn it into, used to be Pat Diver, now there's another lady in the job that does her job. And each month we give you statistics of how much money was collected on your behalf for hawkers, peddlers, restaurant licenses, all types of business licenses. Anybody that requires a trader's license, we issue them on behalf of the state comptroller's office, because obviously they don't have an office to do that in any of the counties, all the clerk's offices. That's one of the many other hats. Trader's licenses are subjective, in my opinion, as to who does and doesn't need them. So that's determined by the Business License Division at Annapolis at the comptroller's office. If it's a borderline, in other words, John Hanley, the handyman, doesn't have to have a business license because he's not trading a commodity. He doesn't maintain inventory. He's not selling cigarettes or anything like that. He's a service industry. He has to register what's called combined registration for his tax number. There's been a lot of talk. I watched the video the other night. That's what inspired me to make sure that I gave you a little education on hawkers, peddlers, traders, inventory businesses, restaurants, all of those types of business. Food trucks. If they live in the town limits, like Papa Smurf does, he pays a $300 hawkers and peddlers it's called. And 92% of that comes back to the town in your business license fees. Last year, we collected 149 individual licenses for the in-town businesses, totaling $2,546, just for your knowledge. And then there's a whole lot of breakout of anybody that has cigarette or special cigarette. A lot of people say, what's a special cigarette? Cigars, snuff, chewing tobacco, all other tobacco products fall under other, what's called special cigarette. So we have several different categories of that. All of those revenues, the state keeps 5%, the county gets 3%, and you get 92% of all of those fees. Because there was a big debate on the floor about them paying peddler's license. Now, the girl in Kingstown, hers goes to the county of Queen Anne. If Papa Smurf lived out Flatland Road further, it would go to Kent County. Kent County got 256 individual licenses issued, a total of $21,047. Why does the amount fluctuate? Because it depends on the inventory in the business. If they have $50,000 worth of inventory, they pay based on that. If they have $10,000, they pay based on that. There's a sliding scale we have to go by to issue all those licenses annually. But I wanted to clarify, because a lot of people don't realize that those hawkers and peddlers and all of that comes back to the local communities. If it's an incorporated town, whether it's Bennington, Millington, Galena, Rockall, or Chestertown, they get the 92% of it. If it's not, and it's in the county limits, it goes to the county government.
Does the county have an inventory tax still?
No.
Well, you just said that their licenses, which were $21,000, 256 of them, were based on an inventory.
No, the license amount is based on the inventory that's maintained in that business. So let's go to the business out there at Hopewell Corner, what's it called, Super Soda, Simpson Soda or something?
Yeah,
Their license fees go to the county.
but it's based on their inventory.
Based on their inventory.
But we don't have that in town. You don't do.
Yes, you do have that in town. Every business has to buy a trader's license that has
So
inventory.
the inventory, so that the tax for Acme would be way larger than a,
Yes.
and it still only amounts to $1,200 or $2,200?
$22,500.
No, for us, for the town.
$22,046 you got last year
Okay,
from my
but you
office.
said 2,200.
Who does the inventory?
They do, and they have to,
Self-reporting?
no, they have to do the report to the State Department of Assessment and Taxation. It's called the Personal Property Report.
Yeah.
Annually, they have to do it, and then it's plugged into those applications when I go out and deliver them. The inventory amount's plugged into there. And when they open their first business, and the first time they start their business, they have to give an estimated inventory. And it's, up to $1,000 or $999 with one set fee and blah, blah, blah. And then they have issuing fees on top of that. If they have a restaurant, they have to pay a restaurant, which is a separate line item. A trader's a separate line item for the food that's in there. If they have a food truck, they also have to go to the health department to get approval for that food truck before they can get a trader's license from us. We work in cooperation with them on this. And the reason I'm letting you know is because since all of this discussion and debate, we've seen a little bit of question activity in the food and cart business. In fact, today I had one for an ice cream cart that they want to promote. Which leads me back to the other part of what, I'm changing hats now, I'm no longer the clerk of court for a few minutes. Tea Party Festival. There was a lot of discussion in that meeting about Tea Party Festival, why we don't let the foodie trucks downtown. The Tea Party Festival is a Kent County nonprofit organization. Bill has always worked very closely. I've been involved in Tea Party for 30 years. Marty was in charge of the run for probably 20 years. The Tea Party is celebrating its 40th anniversary. But the Tea Party Festival is about our Kent County nonprofits. That's why we don't invite the food trucks down to Tea Party. Everybody around that park on Saturday. He slung a lot of clams off of that grill for the Optimist Club. I've slung a lot of funnel cakes for the JCs. The Thomas Guy Lodge is doing crab cakes. The Bethel Lights does theirs. I can go all the way around the park with all 20 vendors. There's about $100,000 that's brought in that weekend to Kent County nonprofits because of the restrictiveness. Suddenly we're getting, the Tea Party Board, I'm no longer on it, are getting requests for people that want to put things out in the street. We never allowed that. It's not the Crazy Days sidewalk sale. It's a colonial historical event. It started in 1956, with that commemorative 250th anniversary placard. The first dumping of the tea took place at the 10 days of activities in celebration of the 250th anniversary of Chestertown. It was a phenomenal event for the 250th anniversary. You all had 10 days of unbelievable activities. There's an old history book about it, which is kind of neat that probably the Historical Society has a copy of. But that spun off, and in 1966-7, when the Kent Plaza Shopping Center opened, Bill can tell you, downtown became a ghost town almost. It was maybe 5 or 6 businesses left downtown. The Chestertown Businessmen's Association of the 1960s, which evolved into the Kent County Chamber of Commerce of today, decided we've got to do something. We've got to find some way to bring people back in, to focus back into our downtown, to bring it back. And luckily it worked. They did a huge event. Al Grimes, Walt Voker, I'm talking old names on it. Al Grimes, Walt Voker, and Louis Anthony. He had the New Yarmouth Mint Shop where Richie Brambles used to be. They all got together and they launched this reenactment of the Chestertown Tea Party, remembering what they had seen 10 years before at the 250th anniversary. Thus, the historic event of the Tea Party evolved into what you now know as the biggest event in our county that draws the largest numbers of tourists, that people come back here year after year after year. And they also come throughout the year when the crowd's not here. But so many people stop me over my career telling me, we found Chestertown because of Tea Party. And then many of them have moved here and fallen in love with the community because of it. So I just wanted to clarify some of the history on that, and that they try to focus on the Kent County nonprofits that weekend and ask people to be cognizant of the fact that it's a historical event, and it's always been a battle. We'd love everybody to be able to bring their wares out in the street, but it would change the entire event. Thus, the mayor and council have always given the Tea Party board the permitting for that weekend to keep the cotton candy vendors and the hot dog vendors from popping up all over the streets around the peripheral of the Tea Party and competing with those nonprofits that are there trying to make the money that gets dumped back into this county for all the services that those nonprofits support. So that's all I had. Anybody have any questions about Tea Party or business licenses?
Want to volunteer?
In my spare time.
All
right,
I
thanks,
use are 6 a.m. to 9
Yeah, I think
a.m.
I'll be rigging a horse and a carriage at that time.
Oh, that's great, because you're the...
Fire company's working with you, and I appreciate all that you do to help us over there. We've got a lot of things coming up you'll be certainly entertained by us at some point.
Great.
About it.
All right, thanks, Mark.
Thanks for your service.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
Sorry, gentlemen, but I'm wearing my Downtown Chestertown Association hat now. You talked about the food truck ordinance. Mr. Mumford just talked about getting a trader's license or business license for an ice cream cart. I have a question about that. Downtown Chestertown Association has had a request from an ice cream cart to allow it to sell ice cream on First Friday. And we basically demurred because we said we don't really have a policy. So is an ice cream truck a food truck? Or is an ice cream thing a food truck and doesn't need that license? Can I just tell them to call you instead of bugging us?
The DCA, just like the Tea Party, when they have an event, you have a lot of leeway in what you choose to do. So if you want to have Papa Smurf there, or the Black Burro, or an ice cream truck, I think that's part of your aegis.
Well, we don't have any policy on any food or drink. Right now, all the food and drink is inside somebody's shop. So
but
this
it's
is a person who wanted to set up outside, and I personally said, we need a policy. Let's not just do this.
Well, I think
willy-nilly.
they're going to fall under the food truck policy in short order.
Okay,
And so
well, then
that,
that's the answer.
well,
and that's
it's not really on private, it's not the total answer because they're not going to be on private property. They're going to be on a town street.
Currently,
But
we're not allowing
our
them on the
pa-
street.
our pa-
drugstore's not gonna be real happy.
In the new, I think the best way to handle it is, do you want it or not? And if everyone says no in the DCA, that you already have your answer. You don't need to go farther. If the answer is, oh gosh, we can't, it's TCBY, we can't wait to have it, then there's a provision in our ordinances that special events are allowed to have food trucks as part of it.
I'll take a look at it.
Already in here.
It's up to the organizers of the event, but they still have to be licensed.
Yeah, pretty soon they'll all have to be licensed, and I really think that's important, because I've seen an ice cream truck. I won't say it's not as impressive looking as the food trucks that we're used to. So I think it behooves us to find out who's going to be doing business with our people in Kent County. And that's a very limited investigation of their background, and they check with the health department. We're going to be eating the stuff that they sell.
Bill, you should be aware, he is not permitted, and he is selling on your streets. in the weekend.
This happens. It's happened ever since I came here.
He
There've
was
been
doing it last summer too, in my neighborhood.
There's a good humor guy that people really complained about, because I think they'd be just about ready to put supper on the table and their kids would jump through the ceiling.
I think the music is the most.
Yeah. I think this is going to take care of a lot of these things.
Liz had a name of the ordinance the last meeting on the tape. What did you call it? It was, you had 2 or 3 that had included food trucks and carts and everything, and you had the term from some committee.
It's the ordinance that we voted on tonight.
Tonight they just keep.
Peddling, soliciting, and food trucks.
Okay, now you had something else that you had said about carrying your carts or anything else. You know, what if I had my food thing connected to my pickup truck?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it was called.
Like if you used a trailer rather than an actual.
It gets more
Yeah,
complicated.
he's itinerant peddler right now. He falls under the.
All right, are there any other questions? What's that?
You need to come wrestle with that Marina Park issue.
It's all-nighter, gonna pull an all-nighter tonight.
Yeah, man.
We could have a competition.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second? Second, someone second.
Second,
All
sorry.
those in favor? Any opposed? We're adjourned.
So we're saying for a closed session, right?
Oh, God.
Yeah, now everybody has to go.